like talking up your seamless transitions. And, we call that the announcer's jinx, Ariel. So I guess for me, the baby jinx would be, we've been sitting here for the last 6 days and no action. So the baby cooperated. We got to watch game 1. We got to watch game 2. Hopefully we have some action in between game 2 and game 3. And then I'm, dialed in for game 3, Knicks Celtics. Let's go here.
You're going to be doing a pod from the hospital at some point.
Well, I don't know about that. That could be a little chaotic.
Like delivery room.
Hopefully we're not there that long. That's the thing. So hopefully we do what we need to do. Baby's out. And either I can come back Sunday and do post game 3, or we're back on Saturday, whatever it might be. But I don't plan on doing any content in the hospital room. Maybe you'll get like an Instagram or a Twitter video, but no recorded podcast equipment. I don't want to get thrown out of the hospital.
I think Kate would kill you. I think she'd kill you.
I don't know if she'd kill me. I think the hospital staff might, to be honest. I think that's more the problem.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm scared of hospitals, so I don't think I would watch that episode. But listen, JJ, I was shocked yesterday. Like, if I could have told you, if I was crazy enough to say, I bet my life that the Knicks are not coming out of Boston up 2-0, like, I would have done it. There was no way in my mind it was going to happen. And they completely defied the odds of the Knicks as 10-point dogs.
1,000%. Look, the argument for game 1 is, hey, the Celtics had a long layoff. The Celtics shot it poorly from 3. The Knicks, you can make the argument, catch them napping. They go and win the game in overtime. Game 2 was following the exact same script. It was a big lead for the Celtics. Despite the fact that Boston was not shooting it well from 3, you saw them far more aggressive in the first half, taking it to the basket. Knicks were sloppy, a couple of turnovers. Outside of Karl Anthony Towns, you weren't getting much from an offensive standpoint. And Ariel, to be real, when it was like 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter and this game is a 20-point game, I said, this is done. I know what happened in game 1. I know the narrative in game 1. This game is done. We'll see you Saturday at Madison Square Garden, and the Knicks accomplished what they needed to accomplish in Boston. And all of a sudden, the game turned on a dime. Mikal Bridges got you going offensively. The defense with Mitchell Robinson was outstanding. And the Celtics shot selection was atrocious. That, to me, is a huge narrative and storyline here. The Celtics took some god-awful, terrible shots that allowed the Knicks to get back in the game. And we see it now with this Knicks team, Ariel. If the game is close, they're confident. They know they have somebody who could get them a bucket at any time in Jalen Brunson. And the team is just comfortable being in those spots. That's what you saw in game 2.
Saturday is game 3, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time at the Garden. How do you see things changing for the Knicks when they get home?
So I know the narrative around everybody in New York City is, hey, this is going to be the most rocking Garden crowd in however many years. I mean, that's going to be tough to top. The Knicks have had some unreal playoff crowds over the last few years, but the unexpected nature of winning the first 2 games of this series against the Celtics, second round, what you've been building towards, it's going to be
another level. It's why I'm thinking that they're going to let down the home crowd and lose.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, Ariel. Sometimes you have all of that buildup, you have all of that anticipation, and it doesn't necessarily work to your advantage. And we know this about the Celtics. They play with their foot a lot. They have a knack, outside of last year when they won the title, for not being great at home, having these dud games, having these WTF games. But when you put them in the road environment, when you put them in a hostile situation, Jason Tatum comes to play and that team comes to play. Hey, all you need to know, Ariel, the Celtics are 5.5-point favorites in this game, right? Like, the Knicks are up 2-0 in a series. They're coming back to Madison Square Garden. The Celtics are 5.5-point favorites. So here's my edict to the Knicks. Go and get one of the next 2. I'm not greedy. Really, I'm not greedy. Get one of the next 2, whether it's game 3, lose game 4, whether it's lose game 3, win game 4. Get a split, and then you set yourself up to have 3 chances to win 1 game to get yourself to the conference final. You'd have to sign for that. I mean, I present it to you, Ariel. You wouldn't take that right here, right now? Knicks up 3-1 going back to Boston? I would.
Absolutely. I would have gone with anything. I would have gone with what's going on right now with the Knicks going up 2-0 in the series. Listen, if you can't win a home game, that's your problem. You got to win a home game. That's why I say the Celtics just completely blew it. But who blew it the most for me was Jason Tatum. And the fact that Mitchell Robinson, I was actually joking with Hakeem Prophet earlier today because he sent me how Mitchell Robinson was saying how he knows how to defend Tatum, blah, 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 blah. I go, oh, so this is what happens when you sit out for like 3 years because of a stupid knee injury. You've loaded up Mitch Robinson all for this moment. How much do you think the Knicks have figured out Tatum, who put up 30 plus in 3 or 4 against them this year?
Well, Ariel, in the offseason, they gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. They gave OG Anunoby a monster mega extension. And the thought process when Leon Rose was putting together this team, he said, I want to have wings that can switch. I want to have disruptive wings. And I'm thinking about how I can make a team match up to the best of their ability with the Boston Celtics. That's what they had in mind. Bridges and Anunoby, and what you saw in the first 2 games of this series, defensively, were insane on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Now, I think some of it is poor shot selection. I think Jason Tatum shows you a perfect example of how just crummy his shot selection has been. The possession before the last shot of the game. You remember, OG Anunoby got screened. He blew right by Mitchell Robinson, slammed it home. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, not for nothing, why haven't you been trying to do that more throughout the course of this game as opposed to just settling for 3 after 3, step back after step back? Tatum's got a boost. He's got a motor. He's got a finish around the rim that he is not taking advantage of in the first 2 games of this series. But when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, you mentioned him. I've been down on him because of his lack of availability, which is a real narrative. It's fair. It's justified.
I'm not allowed to talk about him at NBA TV.
Because he barely plays.
I've cursed him out like basically on air every game.
Well, listen, you and Mitch got to work out what you guys got to work out. I can mediate if need be. Ariel, though, look at the plus minus with the Knicks having Mitchell Robinson on the floor in this series. It's like plus 36. So what does that tell you? His impact defensively and his ability to kind of protect the paint and close out and help out those wing players, it's made a big difference. So I don't want to sleep on what he's brought to the Knicks team. He can't make a free throw. He's got hands of stone. He's not a good offensive player. He really does help anchor this defense, though, in a big way.
Maybe we stay away then from Tatum for a while because I did have his over points in game 2, thinking at TD Garden he'd be better. He wasn't. What we know, Jalen Brunson at Madison Square Garden is an absolute problem for everybody who tries to handle him. I knew in game 2 he was probably a fade spot because game 1 he did well in Boston. He's only put up 22 in Boston in the regular season. He goes home, Brunson. How much of a surefire over bet is Jalen Brunson in the Garden?
So, what's interesting, and you dive into the props a lot more than I do, full disclosure on this, Ariel, but just from someone that watches the games and watches the Knicks every single night, it seems like Brunson gets off the slow starts in these games. Now, I don't know if that's something you can necessarily take advantage of. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Sometimes he'll get it going like he did in game 6 against Detroit.
Where you can maybe take like a live prop bet over on his points if he gets off to a slow start.
But I'm almost thinking the market, knowing that Jalen Brunson explodes in these second halves, they're mindful of that. They're going to account for that. But I think it's something to watch maybe in game 3 where Brunson gets off to a little bit of a sluggish start. Maybe it's 2 of 5 from the field. Maybe he's trying to get his teammates involved. And then that second half rolls around and he's like, all right, I got to put the Superman cape on. I got to go eat. And then he goes and produces. But, yeah, I would fully expect him to, do his thing at the Garden. But I almost would argue, Ariel, from a Knicks standpoint, if we were talking about Jalen Brunson maybe going under his point total, it might mean it's good news for the rest of the New York Knicks because it might mean you're getting a lot more balance from a scoring standpoint. That means Anunoby's involved. That means Karl-Anthony Towns is involved. Mikal Bridges, who had a big fourth quarter, he's involved. Like, to me, that's when I like the Knicks. When they're at their best, it's when, Jalen Brunson's bringing you home in the fourth quarter, but it's that balance of scoring that you're getting basically throughout your starting lineup. It just makes you that much more dangerous.
I just can't get a read on Karl-Anthony Towns. You never want to fade him. He can go off at any point. He had a few key shots for the Knicks for sure already in the playoffs. I just can't understand why some nights he's basically non-existent, and then other nights, oh, there he is, double machine.
It makes him one of the more puzzling enigmas that the NBA has to offer. Because look, he's an all-star. He's going to be an all-NBA center this year. Like, he deserves that. His accolades in the regular season say as such. And he had some monstrous playoff games for the Knicks. Game 3 against Detroit, he was amazing. Game 4, they don't win that game without him. The shot over the basket, basically, that step back 3 to win it. But then he has these games where he's disengaged offensively. He gets into foul trouble, and that's something that stinks. When you bet Karl Anthony Towns, and all of a sudden, Ariel, it's boom, he's got the 2 quick fouls in the first quarter. You're like, oh, here we go. His rear end is going to be on the bench now for a good chunk of time. Is he going to have that stretch where he goes off for a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it very, very tricky as far as Towns props are concerned. Because, listen, he should be going over in almost every single one of these games. The Knicks should be making a major effort to go and get him the ball as much as possible. But you never know what you're going to get. And when you have those games where, hey, disengaged, not taking advantage of mismatches, getting into foul trouble, that's when your bets go up in smoke.
It's been really busy for you over at New York podcast at Ringer, because you've not only had the Knicks doing well, the Yankees and the Mets are in first place of the AL and NL East. How surprised are you to see both of them sitting at the top of their divisions?
So a month and change into the year, I can't say I'm stunned, Ariel, because listen, when we're talking about the Yankees and the Mets from like an odd standpoint, you know, the Yankees were favorites to win the American League, and that was with Garrett Cole going down for the year. The Mets, I know there were questions about the pitching, but hey, they're
overachieving. Come on.
Well, no question. But let's start with the Mets. Okay, let's start there. The pitching lab that David Stearns and Jeremy Hefner have put together, I have been dismissive of it at times. I'm like, what's the secret sauce the Mets have going? Can they honestly go and do this again with their pitching staff? Ariel, it's time for me and you to stop knocking David Stearns and Jeremy Hefner, because they got some sort of secret sauce, some juju that's in the Citi Field waters, or maybe it's in their Gatorade or their sunflower seeds, that's getting a different level out of these pitchers. Now, that said, do I think Griffin Canning and Clay Holmes are going to pitch like this all year? No, probably not. But the fact that they're already getting this out of them, Senga's been great. They're going to get Manaea back. They'll be aggressive and add a pitcher or two, and they know how to cultivate and grow a pitching staff. I mean, Stearns did it with Milwaukee. He's now doing it with the Mets. I think that is sustainable. Maybe not the individual arms, but the overall like totality of the pitching staff, I think is for real. I think it's absolutely the goods. I'll tell you what the Mets have a problem with at the moment. Their bottom of the order, it's lacking something. Now, everyone's focusing on Soto. Listen, he got off to a slow start. He's starting to hit now. It's a question of when, not if, this guy's going to hit. He's not going to be as good as he was last year with the Yankees. He's just not. But he's going to have 30-plus bombs. His OPS is going to be in the 9s. He's going to be Juan Soto. 1, 2, 3, they're in great shape. Nimmo, worried about him. Vientos has not hit the way I thought Vientos was going to hit. And that bottom of the Mets order is lacking. So that's where I stand with the Mets, but they're in good shape. Fair?
No, it's totally fair. Now, next weekend, and this is what also stinks about, and I mean, I'm like very happy for you that you're having a kid soon, but like it stinks because Subway Series is next weekend, which is going to be insanity at Yankee Stadium. Unfortunately, my good friend is getting married, who actually, my co-host Lauren Gardner from MLB Off Base is getting married next week.
Wow, congrats to LG Red. That's fantastic.
Which is getting married in the Subway Series.
You know what though, Ariel? Not only do you have a wedding you're going to have to deal with, I don't know if you have peeked at the NBA playoff schedule for Friday, May the 16th, day after my birthday, might I add. The Knicks, more than likely, unless they find a way to win this series in 5, I'm not counting on that. Game 6 would be Friday night, 8 o'clock at Madison Square Garden, which just goes to show you, baseball, you should have put the Subway Series later in the year. Didn't need I said it when the schedule came out. Too early, May, Subway Series. So
I agree.
That Yankee Met game, which, Juan Soto's return to the Bronx, everything that comes with it. Ariel, if the Knicks are playing a Game 6 and they have a chance to close out the Celtics, sorry, Subway Series, you're getting overshadowed game number 1. You are.
I have chills. I didn't even think about it.
I love that I'm breaking this news to you. See, I am – this just shows you how big of a sicko I am. I am obsessed with sports schedules for like everything. Like when the NFL schedule comes out, I like to see what I have going on particular weekends. I get annoyed when I see a Saturday wedding in October. I'm like, why? Why would you ever do this to me? Thankfully, I don't have one this year. So like, this is how
you could
my
just
mind
blame
works.
the kid come October.
Well, this year is great. I mean, it's literally going to be me watching a kid, me doing a podcast at television, or me at Yankee Stadium. Hopefully, that's
Well, how much
point.
are you going to take this Subway Series as seriously? I know it's early in the year. I know you can't use it as like a sample size. How much are you going to take what happens in this Subway Series as a measuring scale for both teams?
It's a nice May litmus test. As far as what it means come October, I wouldn't get nuts about it. I wouldn't, if it were later in the year, I think it would be easier to gauge, but I got to see, Ariel, where are the Mets coming in this Subway Series? Where are the Yankees coming in this Subway Series? Who's pitching these particular games? Like, do the Yankees have it lined up with Max Fried and Carlos Rodon pitching against the Mets? Or am I sitting there watching Will Warren and whoever their fifth starter is going to be? Like this, for me to say, hey, this is going to be a telltale sign of what both of these teams are, I don't think you can do that in the middle of May with a series. That said, though, every Juan Soto at bat, I can't wait to watch. And selfishly, I haven't kind of mapped out how the rotation is going to look. I do really hope we see Fried against the Mets in one of those 3 games. I want to see that.
Me too. You have to almost hope the Yankees figure out a way to make that happen. I'm worried. Juan Soto's going to hit a home run at Yankee Stadium. I mean, that place was designed for Juan Soto. But speaking of the Yankees, Shawn Michael, the Yankees are not even a top 3 team in the AL. Tigers, Guardians, Royals, Mariners are all better, and it's not close. Thoughts?
Okay, a lot of thoughts there. Listen, I like the Tigers. So I'll start, Sean, with the Tigers. I picked them to win the division. I picked their over wins at, I think, 82.5.
Me too.
They're really dangerous. They'd be a pain in the ass for the Yankees to play in the playoffs. I would not be comfortable or confident in that.
Yeah, their pitching is phenomenal.
Phenomenal pitching. AJ Hinch knows how to beat the Yankees, and they've been very pesky against them. Last year they were. You saw it. I know it was in 30 degrees and snow and terrible weather conditions in Detroit. You saw it in that series. I respect the Tigers. The other 3 teams on that list, the Guardians and the Royals. Wake me up when the Guardians can beat the Yankees in a big spot. Not that the Yankees should be pounding their chest when they haven't won a World Series since 2009. Anytime I see the Guardians in the postseason, it's like an automatic bye. I mean, my goodness, the Yankees beat them in 2020. They beat them in 22. They beat them last year. So sorry, the Guardians are not keeping me up at night. The Royals, they can't hit a lick outside of Bobby Witt Jr. They're not keeping me up at night. The team that I still look at in the American League, Texas, they just fired a hitting coach. Does that maybe jumpstart an offense? Don't put a lot of stock in that, but I still am not selling my preseason Rangers stock from the beginning of the year. And I still think the Red Sox, there's a different gear they can kind of get to as a team. The one thing with the Red Sox, though, Ariel, they have been very, what's the word? They're lacking fundamentals. I was going to say unfundamentally sound, but that doesn't necessarily
fundamentally
work.
Challenged.
There you go. I like that. Fundamentally challenged.
Like the Yankees last year in the World Series.
Bingo. You're seeing a lot of that with Boston. And if you core, that's driving you absolutely insane. And the Mariners, what's weird about the Mariners this year, their team over the last couple of seasons has been all about pitching. What's their offense?
I want the real Luis Castillo to please stand up and get traded somewhere. But now that they're in first of the West, it's probably not happening.
Can't see that. And they haven't pitched great. If they can sustain this offensively, they're a problem. I just don't know if they can. I think that's the $1 million question with them. I think Seattle's got a great chance to be a playoff team. The Tigers are for real. Guardians, Royals might be playoff teams. They're not doing anything in the American League. Sorry.
I agree with you. John Jastremski from over at New York Ringer Podcast. Thank you for coming on. I know I'm probably not going to see you for a while, but please keep me updated on everything.
I will absolutely do that. We'll give you an update from the hospital, but don't be a stranger. I'm not dying, like I'm going to just be at home. I'm saying literally I'm going to be I'm going to be doing pods, changing diapers and being on television and take care of my wife. I mean, I'm going to be juggling a lot of things, Ariel.
And the Knicks and the Yankees and the Mets.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot to juggle, but you could do it. John Jastremski, thank you so much for coming on as always.
Anytime, Ariel.